Back with more reviews, and this is for Tyler Barwick, who wanted me to review the first two Stepfather films. Today, talking about and reviewing The Stepfather, 1987 film, which stars Terry O'Quinn. And I've always heard about this film, never seen it until now. And I know they did a remake later on with Dylan Walsh, yeah, the guy from Nip Tuck. I remember that was on FX, and he was also in Congo. And I haven't seen the remake, and to be honest, I don't have a lot of interest in checking it out. I've heard some bad things. Um, I watched this film, the original, and this is a really good flick. Directed by Joseph Rubin, same guy that, prior to this directed Dreamscape. He would go on to direct Sleeping with the Enemy, The Good Son with Macaulay Culkin, Money Train, which is a good flick. And basically the plot here is you have Terry O'Quinn. I know I've seen this guy before. A year later he would be in Young Guns. I know he was in the TV show Lost. And, of course he came back for the sequel, Stepfather 2. But here, he plays this character, Jerry Blake. And he's a, serial killer. And the film opens up, you see his character where he had murdered his family, and now he's looking, for a new family, to get into. You have this mother and her teenage daughter, and soon enough, Terry Quinn's character, slides right into this family. And meanwhile, you have this detective type of character that's trying to track down Terry O'Quinn and, find his whereabouts because, he believes that he's looking for a new family to potentially murder and, wipe out. So he's trying to find out where Terry O'Quinn is, that he moved to another town. So you got that going on. And meanwhile, with this family, you have this thing where the daughter's at school, having trouble at school because she doesn't get along with Terry O'Quinn. And Terry O'Quinn, his character, wants that Leave It to Beaver type of family. But there's a different side to him where he's violent and he's psychotic. I mean, you have scenes where he'll go down to the basement and freak out and, scream and talk to himself and, throw things. So he has a violent side, and it's starting to boil, and the daughter is starting to see this violent side where, again, he's psychotic and, freaking out in the basement. And so, the daughter, believes that, her and her mother is in danger because Terry O'Quinn, again, he's insane. And that's the plot pretty much, pretty straightforward. And I mean, all you have to say is really, the movie is about an evil stepfather. And that's kind of it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. And, it's a simple idea, but, it's done well here. And, talking about this cast, again, Terry O'Quinn, I remember he was in Young Guns. And the TV show Lost, which I remember liking, but I heard that the way that show ended was kind of BS. I'm just pulling up the cast here, but Terry O'Quinn does a great job here, as this character, and I liked how he puts on this persona, with his family that it's all Leave It to Beaver, and he's very cheery. And he has this, job where he's a real estate guy, selling houses, but there's also a different side to this character where he's violent, psychotic, and, probably, mentally something's wrong. And he goes down into the basement a couple of times and he's freaking out and he's screaming and he's, throwing stuff around and he's walking around with a hammer. And that's where you get some great score in there. I don't know who did the score, but I thought it was a great score. And again, Terry Quinn does a great job here. he definitely sells it as, this evil stepfather type. And, I thought, again, just he did a great job here. He definitely sold it well. Now, the daughter is played by Jill Sholin. Now, I looked her up and I forgot she was in Babes in excuse me, I forgot she was in Babes in Toyland, which I did a rant on. But she was in that. The mother, who's played by Shelley Heck, I don't know what else she's been in. Um, and you have some other characters in here. Again, you have this detective type of character played by Stephen Shellen. I thought he was good here. And there's a couple of other faces that you recognize, but really the main star here, the main star of the film is Terry O'Quinn. And, he sold it well and definitely a great performance. But, everyone in the cast does a good job. And, the daughter was fine. She wasn't annoying. The mother was fine. Whereas, with the sequel, Stepfather 2, there's a little bit more, as far as like with the cast, people that you recognize like Meg Foster and Jonathan Brandis and Caroline Williams. But here, really again, your main star is Terry O'Quinn. And I do recognize one or two other people in the cast, but, for the most part, it's Terry O'Quinn's movie. But again, great job, and I keep saying that. And like I said, directed by Joseph Rubin. And when I look at his filmography, I haven't seen Dreamscape. I do have the film. I want to check it out. I do have Sleeping with the Enemy. The Good Son is a good flick. Money Train is underrated. So Joseph Rubin, I thought, did a great job here. Taking this idea that's simple and, that's straightforward. And I thought he did a great job here with direction and, again, great score and sort of this build-up of, Terry O'Quinn's character, again, where there's different sides to him, where he's putting on this front, where he's, with his family and he's happy. But, again, he's also a killer. And he's, you have a couple of kills in the film where he kills this one therapist with a 2x4. And so, yeah, I mean, it's not a big body count. I mean, here with this film, it's more of a psychological horror film. And the second film took more of the slasher route, which I don't mind. But here, again, it's more of a build-up of this guy's, psychotic, violent, being a killer. And like I said, it's more of a build-up of that. But, again, great score. And it's not a long movie at all. I mean, it's like an hour and 25 minutes. So it's not a long movie. And, as far as some, little things to mention here, the daughter, Stephanie, who's played by Jill Sholin, claimed that she was so disturbed from filming the violent final act, which I'll talk about, that she had recurrent nightmares for a week being chased by Terry O'Quinn. That these nightmares occurred as a reenactment of the scene that she was filming at the time. And that the first draft of the screenplay featured flashbacks, which helped explain Jerry Blake's abused childhood that was instrumental in his, becoming a killer. And that would have been interesting to see, sort of what happened, how did Jerry Blake become this way? And sometimes, that works, sometimes that doesn't, where, you try to explain how this person came to be. Because, again, the film starts off, I mean, with, you see this family that's been murdered, and Terry O'Quinn's character, has this beard and he has hair. So you have some of that in the film, a little bit where he's wearing disguises, but it's more of, Terry O'Quinn, his personality is split, and it would have been interesting to see that. But, getting to the final act of the film is where, and spoiler, I'll give out some spoilers. I mean, I think this film's been out for a little bit, but the detective type of character, he confronts Terry O'Quinn and in the house, and the detective type of character gets killed, um, and then he's going up the stairs, and the mother shoots Terry O'Quinn, but he's still going up the staircase to go after the daughter, and then that's when he gets stabbed, basically in the heart. So he gets stabbed in the heart, and he falls down the staircase, and he pretty much, dies because, you know, even though he came back for the second one, Stepfather 2. So, it doesn't really, and that's the thing about the second film is that he comes back, but, he's able to, he's able to cheat death in the second film because it does show that he has a scar right here. So it's not like they disregarded that, like they disregarded the ending of this movie. But at the same time, unless, this character has supernatural powers or he's, Jason or something, you know, he survived, getting stabbed in the heart. I mean, he got stabbed right here and, at the end of this movie, and he falls down the staircase. So somehow he survived that, and so that's the ending of the film. You think he gets a comeuppance, but he comes back later. And as far as like box office and stuff, I mean, the film, I couldn't find a budget. I think it made a little bit, like 2.5 million in the box office. It came out in January of '87. So, you know, kind of a weird month, but, it didn't really do much when it came out. But I know that over the years, people have talked about this film a lot. And overall, at the end of the day, The Stepfather from 1987 is a really good psychological horror film. Again, you're not going to get a whole lot of body count. Again, it's not like, it's Friday the 13th or whatnot, but, for Terry O'Quinn's performance, again, definitely does a great job, and he sells it well. And at times he's scary, and, especially in the scenes where he goes down to the basement and he's freaking out and, talking to himself, and you see his violent side coming through. But, when he's with his family, it's all Leave It to Beaver and apple pie. And I thought Terry O'Quinn did a great job. Joseph Rubin did a good job directing, and great score too. I forgot who did the score, but, I like the score in this movie. And again, it's not a long movie. I mean, it's an hour and 25, maybe 20. But it moved along nicely. And yeah, so if you haven't seen The Stepfather from 1987, definitely give it a watch. I was able to catch it on Tubi. I don't have the film, but I want to pick it up now. But yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. So thank you for watching my review of The Stepfather. And up next, reviewing Stepfather 2, which came out in 1989. So stay tuned for that, and have a good day.